Mr. Allegretti,
Here.
Mr. Diaz,
Present.
Mr. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right. As you can see from the agenda, we could make it very lean, or we can, well, it gives us room to discuss any items that are in anybody's radar that are not clear enough. But are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, then we'll go ahead with it.
Ricardo, is it possible, I know we talked about the modifications to the TASER profile. Is that something we can throw on just to circulate, like to discuss that we're going to circulate it, or I know I can't take it up.
Actually, I had handwritten it in as 6A,
okay.
And then group them and then just say, and we have all these 3 happenings that are related to that one.
Got it.
So when we get to 6A, I think we'll put it forward, and then we can start, we can circulate to this group for now. Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right. I'm actually, for the next item for the minutes, I'm in a little bit, I haven't been able to read them. I shifted just a little bit too late today to notice things. But what I'm wondering is, if they weren't published on Monday, Lamont, can we actually approve them now? Is that something for public circulation? I don't know. So I'm open to suggestions. We're not in a hurry to approve them. I think that it's important that we all read them and make sure we're okay. Any thoughts?
So the minutes weren't posted online until Monday?
Well, they should have been circulated on Monday with the agenda. Is that true, Lamont?
So I do not know the official Open Meetings Act rule. I don't know if that's part of the Open Meetings Act or not. Since I have been here, I have seen minutes approved that were not posted to the website at the exact same time. So I don't know if that was something that was done in violation or not. But you all can vote to amend the agenda. If you're going to amend the agenda, it has to happen by vote. If you're going to operate outside of the agenda as printed. So that's up to you all.
Well, to be extra safe, there is no particular need to approve them now. Because if we approve them and somebody sees a problem with them, then we'll have to come back and make the process longer. Whereas if we just leave them and publish them, all we have to do is say we're not taking any action on them today. Okay?
Yeah, so, that makes a lot more sense.
All right, so let's just have a motion to table 3A till next time.
I'd move to take no action as to 3A, the approval of minutes from December 22nd.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. 2, 21, 22. And let's just have a vote then.
Okay, so prior to calling roll, just so you know, then you would not be approving your December minutes until March, based off of the calendar schedule that was approved.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Allegretti?
Yes.
Mr. Diaz?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right. We are then moving on to public input. We have a couple of people in the room. Besides that, and in fact, I think it's still good practice. As far as people in the official room, the panelists, Mr. Peppers, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Ms. Boyd, Mr. Allegretti, Mr. Rice, and then our technical support, UPTV. Okay. Anybody else wants to speak from the public? You're welcome to raise your hand electronically. Okay. We'll leave that then as closed. Let us now move on to number 5. Ms. Boyd, Carla, you want to tell us what's going on from your office?
Good evening, everybody. As far as appeals, there are none scheduled at this time. We are still waiting for our appellant to reach out to restart those. The appellant did ask that we suspend them until further notice. So once he re-engages, then we will start scheduling those. There were no complaints during this time period. And the printed material that we talked about last meeting, the card that we have, we would have had that available today, but however, we had a printing issue, and so they're going to reprint those and we'll have them available tomorrow. We will put some out in the lobby at the city building, and then I have them available for you guys. You can stop by my office and pick some up, or if you'd like, I can mail them to you. Just want to make sure that I have your correct mailing address so we can get those out to you. The trifold that I showed you guys, material, at our last meeting, Mr. Diaz talked about getting pictures to include pictures of the board members. So we have put that on hold until spring. And one of the suggestions was to get a group picture, which would probably look a lot, neater, cleaner, nicer, to have a group picture of you guys in front of the water fountain, not water fountain, or fountain, public fountain. I'm still unsure where that is. But in a nice spring, summer, sunny picture of you guys to include in it. But if you'd like to forego the picture, we have those ready to print also.
Any thoughts? I think this is a good time to give feedback to Carla so that she gets direction right off or any other opinions. So, Mr. Wilson lights up.
Carla, are they the same? I think you'd sent us copies maybe like a month or two ago. Are they about the same as they are then, or have there been more changes since then?
There's some updates to the card. On the card, the initial information had the Human Relations Office, and so we just updated that information and just made it a little more aesthetically, visually upgrades. But other than that, the information is still the same, except the change of the name of the office and contact.
Okay.
And they'll be ready tomorrow. They were ready today, but we had a printing error and we wanted to redo that.
Okay.
The only thing about a group photo, I guess, is if the group changes, it makes it harder to change.
Change out.
I mean, I don't have any problem with all, if we all have like a single photo and that we all look like we're at the same place, but okay. Have them maybe individual, and then if we add, hopefully if we get 2 more people, they can be incorporated onto a reprint maybe later. I don't know. I mean, it might not matter one way or the other, but.
Well, if you'd like to, go ahead. I'm sorry. If you'd like to have the single, it'll just take a little bit more time because they have to be formatted when you send them in, but that's possible. The suggestion was that it might look nice to have the group together, but I understand that if the group changes by the time we get them printed, that'll be kind of difficult. But if you'd like the singles, that is possible. It will just take a little bit more time because they have to be formatted and, shrunken and all that good stuff.
Well, if we go individuals, Column is going to be the best looking one because he sent the better picture from the last one. So just so that you know, you have to up your game on your individual picture.
I think Ricardo was making a point I saw in emails where he was saying that the part of the reason that we're updating these from the old design altogether is because they would just make us more approachable, and we want to be as approachable from the public as possible. And I think I think a group photo would do that better. Maybe I think a group photo just shows us like, hey, we're just people. We're just a group of Urbana citizens. Really, that's all we are. And come to us, talk to us, send us your thoughts and from the public and all that. So it seems like a group photo might be the best way to do that, as much as it might be tricky to get us all together.
So how about we leave you, Carla, with once Katrina's logs in, if we can set a couple of minutes just to see if we can come up with a common time rather than doing a little email and lasting it longer. But if we can't get a common time very quickly, I would say let's get that text out so we can print out and start using. When we get to the outreach section, maybe we have something coming up that we can schedule and already start distributing because the text doesn't change. And we're in the era where an electronic document usually gets printed, even if in color, it's all accessible to us. We don't do a run of 1,000 anymore, do we?
No. And they'll be ready tomorrow. I'll have them in my office tomorrow.
Okay. So let's start with that and see if we can coordinate a meeting time. The other reason, and it happened because of the previous report, it's very easy to forget who's been on the board. And it's nice to see the history on the reports as they come up. And it's nice to be able to remember, but also know the faces of those people that have come and done. I don't recall ever seeing a picture of Mikhail and then Ms. McGinnis from a while back. They came and went during a short period. So anyway, all right. So that's good enough. Anything else, Carla, that we should give voice to?
That's all. It's been quiet this month.
Yeah.
On this side of the house.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this cold also creates all kinds of housing situations, I imagine. It's just conflict. And families were in their houses, and that's automatic conflict in some places. So thank you. So we haven't had new cases come up, so we will be dealing with this during this period. Then we have a lot of pending issues of catching up as a board, and so as we go into unfinished business, it's okay to report just bare bones if nothing happened this month. But it just so happened that we voted to schedule a January meeting so that we could have the nice pace of every other month. So let's go on to 6A then, and then we'll figure that out and fill in details as we need to. I know that there are some people that watch these recordings of these meetings, and so it's very nice to update and think of that audience that may not be able to make it tonight, but is catching up along with us, especially after holidays when things go go slow. So on 6A, updates on augmenting the CPRE procedures manual. Tony Allegretti, you want to give us a little bit and then we can start it.
Sure, yeah. I'm still going through it, and I need to, Katrina's not here yet, but we do need to sit down and kind of pick through where we're at. So yeah, I'm still working through it. I'm not as far along as I had hoped. I had hoped to have more time over the holiday break, but it didn't go as planned. As I'm sure a lot of people's holiday plans did not go as planned. So yeah, still working on it.
Yeah. And as you work on that, this is the time to insert them. The procedures manual derives itself from the ordinance and from anything that officialize this, and then we put it into procedures. Over the last, I think, 12 months that we've been together, we have carried out enough hearings that there are some procedures that can be updated and be put on paper, so that, one, it's a good record of what we've decided in our meetings, but two, that we have a guidance while, and this is a separate track that while we didn't put it on the agenda, I think it'll come up for next one, while we work on the proposal to any structural or deeper changes. And so right now we have a small committee working on any recommendations to change the taser ordinance, and then to change the overall ordinance. So as talk to me individually if you haven't yet seen that and you want to put something together or be part of that process. For me, the scheduling of those, what are really major changes, were with us a year ago when we had the public hearings and we had a document to work off of. We created what we call bucket 3, which are structural changes, suggestions, and that's what's in process. We're meeting with Carla and city, other city on Friday, and that'll be our first cut of putting everything on the table, including taser changes that Tony Allegretti's been working on, and then we'll circulate them back. We just want to make sure that we don't miss anything of what's been discussed for quite a while now. City Council is aware. I've had a couple of the members ask, and so they'll be aware. And as they're ready, then they can also see and input, so that our recommendations are finished. Ultimately, the decisions to change structure are not ours. They go back to City Council. So it's good that they're aware. We're on the radar now for that. So I anticipate by next meeting we will have something quite firm, given that it's going to be 2 months from now. So any questions, comments? Okay, and that'll of course will generate a second draft of internal procedural manual changes. But if we wait for council to act, we're going to be here a long time. So let's make our changes that we need, solidify them, and then do a second round of changes once they have acted, if at all. And not that I don't believe in you, council, but it's hard. All right, 6B then, outreach. Colin?
It's for me. I think we're right.
Okay, so it's these documents. Yeah.
Well,
these documents are coming up as a result of your work.
That's right. Well, my work was enough to get the old documents updated and then to put them before people who knew better than to let us keep circulating, documents as old as they were. So, so I suppose maybe I spurned on the real work.
Well, a lot of it ends up on Le Mans and Carla's laps, but we're grateful for their help. Okay, go ahead, Carla.
I was just going to say, Mr. Wilson is being very modest. He did a lot of hard work to get us to where we needed to go. Yeah, you updated it. You looked for the information. You found it. So take credit.
Well, thank you.
It was a team effort. Take credit.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. It's time though that the documents then are prepared, corrected, printed, are made available. But I think it's also time to take it to the next level. So in a little bit, when Mr. Peppers talks, maybe we can join forces there. So we'll leave 6B. We'll go to 6C, CPRB training. As you know, there's a whole list of training. I was going to say requirements. They must be requirements. I forget whether they were actually passed as an ordinance type, but they are. And so we've done well with all the initials. We did the taser trainings. Everybody passed through that. But my big recommendation at the last meeting was to schedule a ride along so we can all have that experience and be part of what we know is going on in the situation. So does anybody have something to report or signed up or?
I do still need to sign up. I forgot all about it, but I'll get that done in the next week or two.
Thank you very much. Don't write on a very cold night. Nothing happens except everybody's shivering. Unless it's a Friday night and the students are in town. So
Okay.
go for it. Anybody
Take
else?
that in consideration.
Yeah.
I did my ride along maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. It was with Officer Tony in the Urbana, and it was an interesting experience. They have a lot going on, and what I didn't know is that they only ride one person vehicles. So that I pictured them being, it's like a 2-man car, but it's really just one person. And then, so when something happens, you'll have maybe 3 or 4 units. These cars will sort of converge. If there's a domestic abuse call or something, they'll all sort of converge and meet together. But otherwise, they're spending a lot of time alone, and they don't have the kind of support I thought. Like the way I'd understood it was that you've got one person on their computer. They've got this little terminal with all the information you could want, and then another person driving, but they've got to split their time, and it's tough. And the way they mentioned it, it was just a resources thing. Urbana doesn't have the kind of resources to have two-man vehicles, is the way I understood it. But so it seems like they're stretched kind of thin, but they seem like good people. I got the impression that they wanted people to be doing ride-alongs more, I think, because the feeling I got was that they want us to experience. I think they want us to experience what it's like, the kind of calls they get, the attitude that people have towards police. I think they want us to know what that's like. And I at first I would they'd have me come out of the car for some of the calls when they would, come talk to people. And at first I'm like sort of holding back. It seemed like maybe there's like people wanted to be confidential in their talks to the police, but the officers just said, no, come right up. But we want you to see and hear everything. It seemed like they just wanted you to experience what it's like, and the kind of night they have. And they have 12-hour shifts. I think they do 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I think is like a typical, that was the shift I was on. And so I didn't stay the whole night. I think I left around 12:30, 1 a.m. or so, but they'll be there all night. And yeah, so there was a lot of calls that they never really stopped. And I'm not saying anything that you can't see watching a YouTube video for a ride along. So this isn't anything special, but I definitely recommend doing it. It's interesting. See if you can meet the sergeant on duty, because they'll be responsible for a lot of the reports for things that come to us. They'll all go through the sergeants, I think. So yeah, so it's worth meeting him.
Good. Just to clarify, you said one person vehicles. It means I think to clarify, one officer in the vehicle.
Yes.
The vehicle is a 4 or 5-seater.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because I thought maybe I'd missed a change.
Oh no, you're right.
Okay. Well, good. I'm trying to open the minutes there to make sure that we have the phone number for everybody. Tony,
did they put you? Do you know what district you were in, or did they put you in a particular one? Or
Ooh, I think I wrote District 5. I think it stretches from right about Green Street down south to the southern part of Urbana. I think it sort of butts up against the campus, because I don't think they call them beats. I don't think these beats cover campus. I think they'll go to help, but I think that's mostly done by the UI police themselves, if I understood right. So yeah, I think I was in District 5.
So the southern part of the city.
So yeah.
Just curious for.
Yeah.
Carla, if you don't mind, resend the phone number with the sergeant that we should schedule with, just to serve as a recent prompt of who to contact.
I can do that.
Thank you. Good. Well, thank you. As we each gain experience, it's good to compare notes. And I think it's good also until I rode, I really had too much of a romanticized version of what officers are doing during the day. Or at night. And so I think it's good for us. It's good exposure for us, but it's good exposure also for the officers to see us with them. Because ultimately some of their names will come before us, and knowing what situations they're in is good context filler for us. Anything else on training? I just found I thought I had lost it, but the video of the day that I took a taser, it was a dumb thing to do, I must say. But I found the video, and when I watched it, I said, why did I say yes to that? I don't know. But it reminds me of something else that I can now die and say I did it once and I don't need to do it again. And so.
If you send me a link, I'd love to see what it's like for a CPRB member to get tased. I'd love to see it just out of just pure curiosity. If you want to send that, I would love to see that.
Okay. Well, they asked me not to circulate on social media, but I did share it with my kids because they need a good laugh once in a while. And me trying to scream and not being able to was their highlight. Just you open your mouth and nothing comes out because the thing has grabbed you. Yeah. Good. That's training. We're going to listen to Mr. Peppers. So 6D on the agenda, we've asked them to tell us the kind of parts that he does within the city structure, because I think that we often miss, and it'd be good to inform us, but the rest of the public too. So Mr. Peppers, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. I will not be before you all long. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So yeah, at the last meeting, I was asked to just share some of the duties and other activities I'm involved in as the community engagement coordinator for the city of Urbana outside of the work here with CPRB. Those who may be watching live or watch this on a recorded version see me here taking roll and sitting astutely. But the other duties that I attend to within the CPRB is to prepare the agendas and the minutes for the meetings that happen here. Also to work in close relation with my supervisor, Carla Boyd, for any agenda addendums or detractions that need to happen, as well as you, the members of the CPRB board. Outside of here, a lot of the work that I do actually happens either on the phone, in a Zoom meeting, or out in the community. I do quite a bit of work with District 116 at the high school and middle school, doing a lot of work with students, trying to engage them in positive activities, school activities, as well as community activities. We've been doing a lot of work to create new clubs and avenues especially for our young African American male students, trying to lean back, push back against some of the gun violence and maladaptive behaviors, that we read about, see in our schools. I do quite a bit of work with our Peace Builders group that is part of the Urbana Rotary. As part of that group, we unfortunately had 2 events that were stormed out, but we were able to have a peace polls activity that took place where we brought 3 teen groups together from Champaign and Urbana together, kind of created some peace polls in Learman Park. I work closely with the HV Neighborhood Transformations Group, headed up by Maurice Hayes. One of the highlight projects that I organized and worked on was the Gun Violence Memorial Tree. And we had a meeting in Learman Park on December 23rd at night to remember some of the victims who were lost to gun violence in Urbana. Also, I was part of the planning and implementation committee for the Martin Luther King Jr. Peace Walk that took place in Urbana. However, COVID beset my house, so I was unable to march, but I did follow along on Facebook Live. I also have been called and do a lot of work dealing with issues such as race, racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I presented at several of the Urbana Rotary meetings here in Urbana, and I was asked to present at the district level. So in September 25th, I believe it was, I traveled to Decatur on behalf of the city of Urbana and presented as part of the Peace Builders part as far as the views, the plight for racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I participated in a series at St. Patrick's Catholic Church on racism as a sin. Where do we go from here? And then I am the organizer and also run a program called the Self-Made Kings, which is a group specifically for African American male high school students. It began in 2019 as a summer enrichment program, and I am glad to say, with the help of the city of Urbana, District 116, I had tremendous amount of support from Ms. Boyd. It is now a year-round engagement program. So these young men and I, we meet once a week. We do a lot of work on social emotional learning, police interaction, adaptive versus maladaptive behaviors in and outside of school. We do community service projects. The Self-Made Kings actually also participated and guest presented at the St. Patrick Church program on race. They also participated in Shop with a Cop. And these young men helped families who are less fortunate than their own, helping to shop and guide these young kids, try to make some Christmas wishes come true. So a lot of what I get to do outside of CPRB directly deals with our Urbana citizens. Have been able to sit down and do some organized brunch and cafes, sat down and met with about 6 Urbana citizens, and they expressed a desire, COVID willing, to do that on the regular. But I think a lot of what all of us desire to do right now is based off the pandemic. And then I do, as a part of the executive meeting, I do sit in and participate in things. We had the license plate readers. I was the moderator and the facilitator for the town halls. Actually, I started in September of 2020, so just been here a little over a year. And I moderated the first use of force town hall meetings, which was about a month after I started. So I get to do a lot of facilitating, moderating, public speaking, and engagement with our citizens on a variety of issues. And as I understand it, my slate is going to become even more diverse and full in 2022. So I look forward to it. Do we have any questions before we move on to the next item of our agenda this evening?
So, Lamont, we're kind of a small sliver of what, of what you do.
All slivers are pertinent. I don't judge them by size.
Oh, right. I didn't mean to. Yeah, I didn't mean it as in a bad way. Just.
Oh no. I get it. All slivers are pertinent.
Yeah.
And actually, what prompted me to ask you to speak today was that I saw you on the agenda at the Rotaries, because I also I was going over there to talk about the welcoming plan, and then I saw you, and I said, that's the first time I'm embarrassed to say it, but it was November maybe when I saw it, and I said, I saw your title, and I said, what else am I missing? And so I'm glad to hear today of the other parts in which you've been present, in which we obviously can't be everywhere, but you have been in a lot of places that are very good for us to know about and to know that there's outreach going on. It's easy to get caught up in our own little shell here, but there's a bigger ocean than our shell. So good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So Given this, for me, this is part when we have meetings like today in which the business that's coming up is very serious and we will have hard decisions and hard stances to take. It's very good to get to know each other and know where we're coming from because there's a lot of stuff going on that, while not as serious, it is the foundation of how to make things happen right in our town. And meeting with the kids, meeting with high schoolers, having them participate, that's all good. I think it serves the same goal that we want to do as members of this board. We want things to go right and better for Urbana as a city and as a community. So I'm happy to hear all this. What time is it? We couldn't be ahead of schedule, are we? No, she's probably would be here. We
It's
can actually
6:12.
Yeah. So she would be signing on, and we'll talk to Katrina. I'm speaking about, but I think we can make this decision. The next vote there on new business without her, given that that's why we need to start a little bit later. So the proposal is on 7A that we change our regular meeting time to 6 o'clock instead of 5:30. We have to have a vote because it impacts the calendar coming up, the staff time and everything else. But it is to be more inclusive, given that she changed jobs and now she doesn't get out till 6. So any questions on that? I think we implicitly wanted to do it at the last meeting, but we found out that it needs to be officialized. So I'm happy to entertain a motion to change our regular meeting times for the rest of this year to 6 o'clock.
I'll make a motion to switch from 5:30 to 6 o'clock for our regularly scheduled meetings for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Colin Wilson. So let's go ahead and take a roll to a vote.
Mr. Chairman, did you need a call for discussion prior to the roll call or no?
Thank you. Good reminder. I tend to put it up front, but yes. Any discussion, any other thoughts before we vote? Okay, go ahead with a vote.
Mr. Allegretti,
Yes.
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
Mr. Diaz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Katrina, this is for you. And so glad to have a new year starting out with everybody being able to do it. We do have, thank you for the vote. Now we just go into the unwinding of the meeting with announcements and the stuff that we should know, but it's good to remind each other of. So any other announcements, comments from everybody? Okay. Well, for me, just like you, Mr. Peppers, we also had COVID in the house. And I have to say, it's not, well, we didn't get it very hard. My boy had the most symptoms, and it was, a little over, a little more than a cold. We got lucky. But just the logistics of it and isolation, and you can't go out, and going back to where we began a couple of years back, it just hit me that we'd been extra lucky. It wasn't just that it didn't hit us very hard. It was that we have not had to go into isolation and then the implications for schooling and all that. So there are people out there, and, frontline workers have to be navigating that every day. But it was a good reminder to me that I didn't even know how testing was done. And so we're still in the middle of this. And while Zoom meetings are not as efficient, we've gotten used to it. We can do some work, but it's a necessity. Some people are still, our hospitals are still in very bad shape. So I have to recognize that because it was a big blow to us as a family. So thank you. If not, nothing else individually, let us just remember we have 2 CPRB board seats open. And so we invite the public, anyone else out there, to please apply. If you just type in Urbana CPRB, that brings you up and Google to the page, and then the application form is there. The application goes to the mayor's office, and then the mayor usually convenes some of us to go over the application with the applicant. It's her decision, but it's so far, at least for all of you here, I think we've been involved. Mikhail and or myself were involved, and that's a good thing. And I think yeah.
Are there any pending applicants?
No, there are not. And now we've been like this for over a year. When did you join, Colin?
May of 2020 or 2021. So May of last year.
Yeah. So you don't want to go a year with those fully open. It's been nice to get to know you and to have a 5 because we were able to get quorum. But it's so much better when we have different opinions and everyone can analyze and we can all learn what's going on when it comes to police work here in town. Before I forget, and I guess we did not formalize it on the agenda, but as the public knows, the chief, Seraphin, announced his retirement last week, and the nomination was put forward for Lieutenant Searles to be made interim chief while they find a permanent chief. It's effective in a couple of months, I think. But questions have started coming up, and don't be surprised that you are called also by press or citizens or other groups asking your opinion. And I'm not sure of the hiring committee, but it is part of the process of replacing. That has meant that we don't, as you know, Lieutenant Searles was facing out of being the liaison to us, and we had Lieutenant Coker, who was transitioning into this role, but now he won't be because he's been moved around. So as the leadership changes, there's a lot of offices that need to be changed. And so they've assigned somebody to us. And so I've invited him to come to our meetings, and he'll probably be representing the police department in investigations and questions that we have. So we are impacted, and I would imagine it is to our best interest to keep tabs on this and to form a good relationship so that work can be done more efficiently. Any other comments on that? Okay.
Well, we don't have a timeline of when they're going to make a selection. I mean, I would assume that's later this year at the earliest.
I don't know. I'm not informed that. I didn't watch on Monday night. If anybody has info on that, I think on Monday they were going to vote to have Lieutenant Searles be interim chief. I'm not sure if they're moving that fast. But given that the chief does not retire for a couple of months, I think that they're going to work that out. So they're not in the biggest hurry, but at least there is overlap right now for transition, and so that's better than someone leaving and leaving an empty spot. So I don't know what it is, but it'll be a couple of months. When it comes to our relationship and our liaison, that has changed already. And I don't happen to have the name right now, but I've invited him, and when he contacts us, we'll get him on our loop.
Officer Smizer, sir.
Thank you. Officer, probably Lieutenant Smizer. Yeah, will be assigned to us. So if you know him already, then it'll be good to bridge. Okay. As far as the rest of the agenda, the time commitment we've already and are keeping true to as much as we can. About 6 hours a month. This meeting service is part of that. But next month would be appeals. But in lieu of that, we'll be meeting as much as we can to move the bucket 3 and changes to our documents as much as we can do. That way, the time commitment stays about the same, but we're finally moving on some of these things that have been tossed for a while. So, and that includes, I guess I didn't skip it. Carla and I are working on our yearly report. We finished the 5-year report, it's been circulated, and now we're working on the 2020 report. And we're trying to set it up as a template for oncoming years so that we have everything ready there. Whoever takes over as chair should have an easy way to generate a report of our activities for the year. Okay, appeals already reported on by Carla, and so our next regular meeting would be in March, as stated on the agenda, because we then have the intervening month to be working on smaller committees and generating. So that's where we're at. Is there anything else before we turn the time over to the public for any comments that they may have? Okay, so
hey, Ricardo,
yeah.
Just to give you that date, the next regular scheduled meeting would be March 23rd.
Okay.
Now at 6 o'clock. So with the vote being updated, I will go in and update the annual calendar and place all the meetings. We will be meeting on the odd months of the year. There will not be one in December per option 2. So I will go in and update so that all the meetings are for the odd months to begin at 6 p.m. per you all's vote tonight.
Thank you very much. And in fact, when I did Urbana CPRB meetings, they all came up, and I'm glad that you are in charge of changing these as they come, because we did have a little bit of trouble on the website to verify that. So I'm glad you're on it. Thank you. Any members of the public? We have several. Does anyone want to speak? Please raise your hand. We have one. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilkin. Please, it's your time.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Grace Wilkin. I'm on the council, and just want to say that I'm, listening, down for collaboration, however it can be, support what you guys are doing, and I'm definitely interested in keeping that communication and collaboration. So be interested for any updates that you feel are relevant, and appreciate the work being done here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for both your presence and the offer. We, as you've probably seen, we tried to assign ourselves to come to council on a regular basis to report back, but especially as a build-up for these big changes that we'll be proposing, for the changes that we'll be proposing in the coming month and a half. So thank you for coming by, and we'll probably invite you to see if you're available for being part of that process. Thank you. Our next speaker, Mark C. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Christopher Hansen. Oh, I got some echo here. Sorry. Okay. Christopher Hansen. I didn't catch your whole meeting tonight. I heard Mr. Wilson talking about doing a ride along in a police vehicle. It's cool that you guys have fun with that and everything, but I mean, you're really only getting one perspective. I mean, I'd love to hear your stories about having been wrongfully arrested, having been physically abused by the police. I'd love to hear your stories about how you've been treated in jail when you were arrested. I'd love to hear your stories about being maliciously prosecuted by the police, being mistreated by a corrupt state's attorney. Any perspectives you can give on those would be excellent. When the police have ever beaten and struck you, or shot you, or tased you, how did that go? I mean, I know Ricardo, thinks it was a good old time getting tased, but you can kill someone when you tase them. You can seriously injure them, and it happens all the time. So it sounds to me like you guys are just being groomed by the police to see things purely from their perspective. I don't know what experiences you guys have with being arrested and being prosecuted, but it'd be great if you would share those so that, maybe the public will have some impression that you have a balanced view instead of just that you're being groomed by the police to see how the police see things. The ride-alongs are stupid. You're seeing things, you're seeing a show that officer is putting on for you when he knows that you're there watching. It's hard to imagine anything useful that comes out of this. You don't get to see how they actually act that night. That's silly. What else? Oh, for the CPRB vacancies, I'm wondering when people apply this time, and they probably won't, when they apply and the mayor and the chief deny the applications, I'm wondering this time if you're going to actually tell those applicants that they were denied and maybe tell them why, or are you just going to ignore them like you did the last time when you had 2 applicants and you just basically passed them up and didn't explain why they weren't chosen? Sounded like they were good applicants. I'm wondering if it concerns the CPRB that Richard Searles, our interim chief to be, is named in a lawsuit for falsifying evidence and coercing witnesses. City Council doesn't seem to want to talk about this. I think it's deeply problematic if our interim police chief is apparently coercing witnesses and falsifying evidence against people. Maybe it's concerning to you too. It's concerning to me. So I don't know. I know you guys aren't going to talk about this stuff because you don't talk about stuff, but those are things that, I think are worth being concerned about. All right. Good night.
Night. Thank you for sharing your views. I trust the board's views to be very experienced, balanced citizens of Urbana, not only in picture and in training with the police, but in having lots of experiences out there. And sometimes as victims, but hopefully not too often. So thank you everyone for serving and sharing your time. Let us call for ending this meeting. So I guess I need a motion for that.
Before we go, I wanted to also say thank you, Lamont, for sharing your what you do all in the community. It makes when you do have time for us, it makes it more special knowing just everything else that you have on your plate. So I appreciate that you do give some of your time to us, given how busy you are. So thank you for sharing everything.
Thank you very much. That's appreciated.
Thank you very much. A motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's have a vote, and we'll be adjourned for a regular meeting until the 23rd. But in the committee works and individual meetings, as you know, our committees have to be composed of 2 people or 2 members of the board and no more. But I look forward to your updates over email. And thank you, members of the public and council, for visiting, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. Mr. Allegretti?
Yes.
Mr. Diaz?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carried, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.